Enigmas, welcome to another top 8 video series of classical guitar and all there is to know about this fabulous music genre brought by your host, Delia. Today we are counting down our picks for the top 8 classical guitar music composers of all time. We are introducing only those musicians who fully dedicated their work to this music genre and whose music compositions were originally intended for the classical guitar repertoire only. So, we are quickly giving to you the spoiler alert of not including in this top 8 musicians like Isaac Albéniz or Johann Sebastian Bach, since their music was not originally written for the classical guitar repertoire. For the purpose of this video, we want to let the audience know that this top 8 is a review for educational purposes and most of its content is our personal opinion. Before we proceed with our first entry, if you're interested in classical guitar and you wish to know more about music topics, start now by subscribing and clicking the bell so you don't miss anything. Number 8. Mauro Giuliani. Our first entry is a leading Italian music composer who contributed a lot to the classical guitar repertoire in the 19th century. His early music training began with the cello and subsequently he devoted himself to the guitar, becoming a very skilled performer on it in a very short period of time. Giuliani's expression and tone in guitar playing were astonishing. In his music legacy, he brought to us the classical guitar repertoire of amazing masterpieces such as the 6 operas known as the Rossinianas, the guitar theme variations of Handel's Opus 107 known as the Harmonious Blacksmith, and even this beautiful sonata in C major of the Opus 15. Number 7. Dionisio Aguado. One of the most prominent classical guitar virtuosos of the late classical and early romantic period is without a doubt Dionisio Aguado. He was born in the city of Madrid in Spain and was trained by another prolific classical guitar master of the time such as Fernando Sor, of whom we are going to talk about later. His most important contribution to this awesome music genre is his guitar teaching method known as Escuela de Guitarra, which translated into English is School of Guitar, which was published in the year 1825. This major contribution made him one of the most innovative classical guitar teachers of the 19th century. And finally, in his colorful repertoire of classical guitar music, he brought to us masterpieces such as the 12 Valses or his most known works known as the 3 brilliant rondos of the Opus 2. Number 6. Ferdinando Carulli. Another Italian guitar composer takes a spot on our list. Ferdinando Carulli, just like Mauro Giuliani, started his music education with cello, but when he was 20, he discovered the guitar and devoted his life to the study of this fabulous music instrument. Becoming the most prominent guitarist of the city of Naples in Italy, his major contribution to classical guitar education was his book of name, The Complete Method for Guitar, Opus 27, written in 1810. Ferdinando Carulli was a prolific music writer who composed over 400 classical guitar pieces. Amongst that vast repertoire, he brought to us masterpieces such as the piece called Fandango. Number 5. Heitor Villa-Lobos. This spot on our list brings us to the most significant creative music figure of the 20th century of Brazil. Heitor Villa-Lobos is the representation of Brazilian classical music, who was known to be a conductor, cellist, pianist, and of course a classical guitarist. Most of the early compositions by this music virtuoso were by his improvisations of guitar music, and up to date there are a total of more than 2,000 music works done by him for various music instruments, orchestras, and guitar. Amongst this vast repertoire, his most recognized classical guitar pieces include Coro No. 1 and this majestic Prelude No. 3. Number 4. Matteo Carcassi. This is the third Italian guitarist we include on our top 8. Matteo Carcassi is probably the most popular classical guitar composer amongst performers and students. An additional note for our audience is that Carcassi is one of the major music influences of our host Delia. Carcassi has brought some of the most basic and popular classical guitar etudes in music history for the learning and practice of guitar performers. His most important contribution to classical guitar is his Opus 60 of 25 progressive etudes, which begin with intermediate level pieces and concludes with advanced level pieces such as Etude 25, which is considered to be one of the most difficult classical guitar pieces in the repertoire. Number 3. Fernando Sor. He was a classical guitar maestro born in Spain who spent most of his life living in France writing his music. Fernando Sor is known by many as the Beethoven of classical guitar. His repertoire in this music genre is so vast and carries one of the most important legacies that makes him one of the most important composer of guitar baroque and romantic music, which include 12 etudes Opus 60 and Opus 29 for students, variations of Mozart themes, 12 valses Opus 17, and many other important works. One of Fernando Sor's most recognized classical guitar compositions amongst students is this beautiful etude in B minor, also known as Legota di Agua, which is considered one of the most enigmatic and saddest classical guitar pieces of all time. Number 2. Francisco Tarrega. Spot number 2 is taken by this Spanish maestro of the Romantic period who is considered to be the father of classical guitar. He is also known as being the major influence of the great Andrés Segovia, who had the honor of meeting him in person. Tarrega is considered to have laid the foundations for 20th century classical guitar and for increasing interest in the guitar as a recital instrument. Also, he preferred small intimate performances over the concert stage. In his music legacy, Francisco Tarrega composed 78 original scores and 120 transcriptions, mostly for his own use. He is also the composer of Grand Vals, an excerpt of which was used in the iconic Nokia ringtone. Also, let's not forget that his most iconic classical guitar work is the magnificent Recuerdos de la Alhambra, which is considered the most important tremolo piece in guitar history. Before we continue with our number 1 pick, be sure to subscribe to Julia Music and ring the bell to get notified about our latest videos. Make sure you click on all notifications, and if you're on your phone, make sure you go into your settings and switch on notifications. And now, before we unveil what we have for you on our number 1 pick, here are 4 honorable mentions. Number 1. Agustin Barrios. This time we go to the South American country of Paraguay, the place that gave birth to one of the greatest classical guitarists of all time. Agustin Barrios is known as the Kesek of classical guitar. He began to show an interest in musical instruments, particularly the guitar, before he reached his teens. He was famed for his phenomenal performances, both live and on gramophone recordings, and has been credited as the first classical guitarist in history to make an album recording in vinyl discs at music studios. His works were largely late romantic in character, despite having lived well into the 20th century. Many of them are also adaptations of or are influenced by South American and Central American folk music. In his vast repertoire of music, his most well-known guitar piece is La Catedral, which was inspired by the music of Johann Sebastian Bach, according to music experts. So what do you think about this, Enigmas? Do you agree with our top 8? What classical guitar music composers do you think are the most important ones? Please let us know through your comments what you think. Do not forget to share, like and comment on this video. Follow us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter and TikTok to see more content. The links to our social media are down below in the description. Your host Dilie will always be here on Dilie Music to inform you about music and perform classical guitar masterpieces. We hope you Enigmas have enjoyed this video. Until we meet again.